Hey guys, so we are with another visionary male leaders live, and today I'm gonna be the guest and I'm gonna talk about myself, but that's why I'm gonna give the word to this guy who is gonna start the conversation. Alan, everything to you, man.
Thank you so much, Demi, and welcome to this broadcast. I'm delighted to say hi to Sarah Bellorini. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Alan, and hi, Dimi, and hi, everyone
Uh,
who's watching. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. And Demi, I want to officially welcome you to your own show.
thank you, thank you, Alan.
And thank you so much for giving me the privilege of interviewing you two, because you interviewed me last week and you did a
Mm,
brilliant job of it. And then
mm.
at the end of it, I knew you were doing an amazing job interviewing so many people from this incredible book that we're going to be talking about today. And then at the end of it, I thought, well, I wonder who's interviewing you. And you said, I don't know. So I volunteered, and here we are. Isn't that great?
It is. Thank
It
you,
is
man.
very great considering that both of you are all about love in leadership
Yeah,
and love in business. So it's a perfect match.
it is a perfect match. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I'd like to start with you, Sarah, if I may. This incredible book, Visionary Male Leaders, that's just come out. It's got a group of male leaders, each contributing a chapter on this subject. And I think I'm right in saying that the idea of it is to help identify and integrate leaders' feminine and masculine leadership traits. So, can I start with you, Sarah? What gave you that idea for doing this?
Okay. Thank you, Alan, for the question. And it's very interesting actually, because I'm not sure whether you've heard of Elizabeth Gilbert, who is an author, and she wrote a book called Big Magic, and she talks about ideas and words that want to come, that want to be manifest in the physical plane. And really, that was my experience with this book. I'd been in two multi-author books myself, and I coach male leaders and female leaders. And it was after a coaching session with a male leader that this idea just dropped in from, it was almost like from nowhere. And I originally thought that the book was going to be about, for men and women, and more about spiritual leadership. And it didn't quite feel like it was exactly right. And so I mulled it over a little bit, listened a little bit more, and I got a very, very clear message that it had to be a book written by men, by male leaders, with a vision for, different leadership, integrated leadership, and who were very, very passionate about creating sustainable change in businesses and in the planet. It had to be written by these men for other men, and it
Mhm.
had to be on feminine leadership traits. And I did have a lot of pushback from various people, because they were like, what, why aren't women involved, and what about feminism and all this kind of stuff. And it was really interesting for me to hold the vision. And I'm so pleased that I have, because feminine leadership traits are different to feminism. And this is specifically about the traits, the traits, the masculine and the feminine traits that we all have. And so this is not gender specific, this type of leadership that we're going to be talking about here today. This is for men and women, this visionary style of leadership. And also it's the opposite end of the spectrum to the toxic masculine leadership that we have all adopted. Well, I have, as a woman, I've adopted it to get ahead in my career. And I know a lot of men feel that they have to do that as well. So that's a very long answer to your short question, Alan. But I hope that helps to, bring some context as to, what the topic's about and where it came from.
And thanks. And what are you hoping the book will achieve in change? What's the change you'd love to see happening as a result of people reading this book?
Yeah, thank you. So my vision is really to impact a whole generation of male leaders through this identification and integration of the masculine and the feminine. And so it's really about being balanced and integrated humans, really. And so when we have a different type of leadership, then we create different types of businesses, and we can create sustainable change on the planet. So it's really about a big change, a significant sustainable change for humanity. That's my vision. And the
Yep.
book is, one expression of that,
Yep.
really.
And so how did you go about choosing the male leaders who contribute to this book, of which Demi and I am two of the people that have got involved?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because it's not for everybody. And when I spoke to people about this, offered the invitation to some people, they were repelled by it. And all the men that have come into the book are people that really, really resonated with the vision, with the bigger vision, and with this idea of collaborating and bringing. It's again, it comes back to the impact piece, Alan. So it was really about men who, a lot of you I know, or you came through people that I know. So I knew that you were similar mindset, similar consciousness. And there's a couple of the authors actually that I met on LinkedIn, and I invited them because I could tell from their energy and the way that they were showing up and the language that they were using that they were really my kind of guys that I was looking for, our kind of guys, that would really bring this book to life. And the other thing, just to really quickly add, is that I had an intention to make this as global as possible. And I really feel like, we've achieved that. With the exception of Asia, I think we've got pretty much every other continent in there. We have a lot of countries, and all of you leaders have worked across a number of different geographies and with different nationalities. And also it was the range of ages as well. So Dimi is our youngest author at 33. And then we have some other authors who are close to 70. And so we have 3 generations of male leaders in this book with, truly global experience. So there was, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so that's great. So what it sounds like ties the authors together are what Seth Godin calls psychographics, beliefs, attitudes, values, etc., rather than age, demographics, the old thing. So that whole empathic values matching between everybody involved, and that brings us on beautifully to Dimi. And would you like to introduce yourself, Demi, and tell the viewers what it is you do, what type of work you do, who you work with, and then we'll look at the chapter that you've written.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I mean, I was just enjoying how Sarah described the idea of the book and the purpose we all have. And first, I want to say that I totally agree that, and thank you, Sarah, for that, that you brought together so many people who have this similar mindset, heart-oriented people who wants to help the world and change the world in a very good way. So thank you for the question, Alan. For me, I just want to start with that. Who am I? And that's that. I always love this question. Who am I? Because every time the answer is different, and that's interesting for me. Because it depends of where I am with who I am. I think I just something different is coming up for me. What I want to start with is who I was several years ago. Because at age of 21, can you imagine that at 21, I felt this big emptiness in myself. I didn't have any purpose in life. I didn't know why I'm existing. And that was a moment. I remember this day when I was at home. I was watching TV or something the whole day, and I felt so empty that I had to do something. I felt like otherwise I'm gonna implode. You know, I went outside and I started chopping woods. And I remember I was looking at my eyes, and there were kind of no blood on them. And I was just asking myself, what am I doing with my life? What should I do now? I should change something. I should do something for my life. Otherwise, there is no point in that. And that was the beginning of my journey. It sounds like it's a movie, but it was exactly like this. It was like this for me. And I was living in my, gymnasium, the student years. It was without any purpose because that was the way people were living around me. There were no idea of why you are existing, what you want to contribute to the world. Everything was about pleasure and having fun. And that's not bad, nothing bad with that. But I realized at that point when I was 21 that I need to change something, as I said, in my life. And I need to, as a man, I didn't know what's my role in this world. And that was the start. I started working on myself, started reading a lot of books. I started really going to different courses because I wanted to find the answer. And through different, setbacks, which every one of us have in life, I realized that actually the only way, at some point, I realized that the only way to really feel full inside, the only way to feel that I have this passion inside is to find connection with my core. And then this journey became for me finding my core and living from there. And when I say my core, I mean love. I didn't know
Mhm.
that back there. I didn't know that this is love, but I was thinking I need to find this place when I feel this. When I was a child, that you feel this joy. You just play in life. You see life as a game, and that was what I was about to find, but I didn't know how. And throughout all of these things which I was doing, I realized that more and more I pay attention to myself and taking care of myself, then everything changes for me. My internal environment is different, my external environment changes. And what I became out of that was, if someone asked me now, what are you doing? Yes, the official word is I'm a leadership coach, and more specifically, self leadership coach. I'm helping people to find a way to lead themselves with love in order to create difference in this world. And the thing is, and another thing which I always say is, I help people to get out of their box and start living their truth. And this is what I was doing throughout all of these years. I'm 30. Actually, I'm 34 now, Sarah. Recently, I've got so I'm 34, and these 13 years, that was my job. And actually, naturally happened that I was doing that for myself. I realized that actually that's what I want to do for others. I want to help them find their core because I was seeing so much people around me. Doesn't matter if they were successful or not successful, they were not happy and they were empty. And that was my job. I want to help them go this journey like me and then find their place in life. And what I was about to say here is that for me, if someone asks me, yeah, I'm a coach, but what actually I'm a space coder. I'm a space coder. This is what is my superpower, if you could say. I can really hold a safe space for people so that all of these things can emerge in the sessions with me, so that we can co-create who they want to be in the world. And that's what I do now. I'm helping leaders, entrepreneurs, and higher ups, you could say, to actually start living from this place so that they can actually help the people who are below them, their employees, and their families, their friends, also to go in this direction, so we can create a big influence in the world.
And can you give some examples of what sort of leaders, entrepreneurs you've worked with over the past few years, and maybe refer to a couple of people that I'm talking about, obviously keeping confidentiality, but
Yep.
particularly with reference to that inner space that you talked about, that you yourself experienced, and then noticed that as you change your inner space, your outer environment changed. What examples have you got with work you've done with what type of leaders?
The first thing which is coming in mind is I remember one guy who was really great. He was a photographer in a company. He was in the company. He was the head photographer in the company he was working for. And the guy, what he wanted was always he wanted to buy a boat, but there was something on his way to buy the boat. There was some fears, of course, there. And when we were working together, actually, at the end of our work, actually he bought this boat because he changed the way he was seeing the world. He bought the boat, and now he's actually traveling around the world and living in the boat. So that's one example of someone who was not corporate exactly, but mostly in this direction, wanted to make more money and everything. And then he actually connected himself with this art, with the inside, with the core, and started living and making, some movies around how you can live on the boat. What can you do there? How can you actually have a great life there? So all of this. So that's one example. Another example actually is I'm working with a very, very, very high level coach who is working with a lot of wealthy people, and he's wealthy. But the thing here is, we were talking about that, and he's not the only one. There are other leaders who I was working. It was exactly the same thing. I make a lot of money and everything, but I don't feel this satisfaction inside. And do you know what happened? And I don't know, both is the common topic here, but we were talking about how actually fun was something he couldn't feel in his life for a very long time, because all the focus was on the achievement,
Mm.
And the idea here was, once we were working and we started, creating this environment together, slowly we could see how the person started focusing more on the present, more
Mhm.
on what is happening right now inside. And the interesting thing is that this changed. He started paying more attention on the experience itself, and this actually created shifts in his life because he was happy. He started really having more fun. Also took part of the boat and started traveling, and also the business started getting better because he started choosing actually the people with him he wanted to work based on this internal experience, not based on our mind and what is the best for me when it comes to money. So that's another experience with someone who actually changed his internal and then started choosing the external out of that, and having more fun in the process.
And it's a bit overused, the word mindset, I think, these days, but it sounds like that's what you're principally focused on, for want of a better word. Maybe there's a better word than mindset, Dimi, but it sounds like once you're what you've learned through your own growth and you're now teaching others is that by changing one's mindset and then expectations of what does happiness look like, what do people really want from their heart perspective, rather than the classic external achievement head type ego-based stuff, that
Yeah.
they're then leading happier lives as a result of what you're showing them, teaching them, and providing the space for. And then, hey presto, it's almost like magic. Their actual real world changes to follow that mindset, and that may sound obvious because we're involved in that and we know that type well. But I think it's still a very new concept for many leaders and many business people out there.
Yeah, and it almost sounds like it's too simple as well, doesn't it? It's like, well, I just change what's inside of me, and then my outsides change. But if it was simple, people would be doing it already.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting, isn't it? And Alan, I love this kind of like the differentiator between mindset and heart set. And there's a coach, Robin Sharma, who talks a lot about that. And I think it is very, very interesting, because that's really what this integrated space is that I was talking about at the beginning of this discussion. That we've kind of termed masculine and feminine, and really it's different consciousness, isn't it? It's different energy. It's bringing yourself into this different space of integration and not living purely here. Like there's a whole world of fabulousness under, below your neck that actually for a lot of people it's not safe to explore that space. It's, our hearts have been broken, and so we kind of put like a slab of concrete across our heart, and it's like, don't go there. But when we're able to tap into the desires of our heart, like you've been talking about, Dimi, and you hold that externally, you hold that safe space, so that then internally we can create our own safe space, and then when we can play from that area, can't we? And that's a lot what your chapter's about. Is it's like refinding this joy. And I love this distinction between, because so many of us fall into that trap of like, if only I had more money, then I'd be happy. And it's like, well, then what happens when you get the money? You're still not happy. It's not about that. It's about this inner journey of integration.
It is.
Yeah, and thanks, Sarah. And you've brought us beautifully to Dimi's chapter, and maybe this is a good moment to talk about what you've just been talking about, integrating external and internal with the feminine and the masculine, and the traits that are quote unquote supposedly masculine and traits that are supposedly feminine, when actually all genders these days, and of course there's more than just two, can exhibit any one of a mixture of all of them across the spectrum. And I think it's such an old paradigm that just because there's a male, there's going to be, male characteristics, and female is female. So turning to your chapter, Dimi, which I read with great interest, I see that it's called Love, the Most Transformational Leadership Approach in Your Life and Business. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Thank you for asking, Alan. And definitely, first of all, I believe totally that love is the most transformational approach. And because, as we said, our core, as I said, and that's absolutely my opinion, is love. And once we get in touch with love, then we can work from there, and we can actually create from there. Because actually, what I believe also is love is the most creative energy we can have. And if we want to create in life, and that's the way, that's the way. And my chapter is actually talking about exactly that, how actually this desire to achieve. So first of all, there are two. When we want to prove ourselves in life, when we feel lack inside in ourselves, that can be the reason for that. Is what I didn't say is we abandoned ourselves throughout the way in some way. That was what happened for me. So there are two approaches. There are many approaches, but two main approaches people take. The first one is people go and become high achievers. They start achieving, because they believe that in this achievement journey, they're going to get this satisfaction inside. There are other people who take the other approach, which is pleasure, just having fun in life, going out, drinking. That's another approach that people take. So there are two different approaches. What I talk in this chapter is the first approach, about achievement. Because actually this approach is a little bit more shadowed. Some people believe that this is a great thing to do, because the other one with the drinking, already they said it's not good for someone to do, to have pleasures. But when it comes to achievement, people say, wow, this person is achieving a lot, so everything is all right there. But that's not true. Many people who are there, and that's what I go throughout the chapter, that many people in the chapter, you have this conversation, you talk with yourself about, okay, I'm achieving, I'm doing stuff, but I don't feel this fullness inside. I don't feel this satisfaction. What should I do in order to have it? And apparently more achievement doesn't work for a lot of people. And in the chapter, what I do is I just go through a process which I explain and really illustrate how actually I went through this same process for myself, and realized that actually when I wanted to prove myself to other people by doing great on the outside, didn't work for me. And the place which I went is emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
And this emptiness and this loneliness, even I can say, it's not because I was a bad person or something, but it was because I didn't know where that actually I was not looking for the right thing. And what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted was actually love. But because I believe that the only way to get a love is from other person, especially a woman, which is the normal approach in the world, that's why I was thinking that once I had a great girlfriend that would be great. I went to and I had girlfriends and that didn't happen as well. And then at some point, after a breakup, which is again in the chapter I wrote about that, I realized that this is wrong. I need to just go and do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then I I realized that what if I can give this love to myself? How
Mm-hmm.
can I do that? I didn't know that. I tried different ways, but what I realized is that actually, in order to get this love for ourselves, we need to create totally different relationship with ourselves. How we actually react on our failures, our mistakes. How do we actually? What do we think about ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
If you ask this honest question, and I tell you, if you ask and people answer this honestly, what do you think about yourself?
Mm.
I'm sure that more than 80, maybe 90% of people, if they're totally honest, if they don't say I hate myself, they're gonna say I don't like myself. And the reason for that is exactly that we externalized this approval very, very long, behind in our life. And what I explained in the chapter is that you just come back home and again internalize love and learn how to do that with yourself. And my message is by teaching yourself how to do that with compassion, with understanding, with empathy, you create this internal environment for ourselves of joy, of love,
Mm-hmm.
of creation.
Mm.
And then you go out and you actually use that with other people. You relate to them in the same way. You cannot relate to other people with something else than love if you have because you don't have only love inside.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm.
And when you go out, and when I say love, I don't talk about fluffy love like everything is beautiful and pink. I talk about the love. When Simon was talking about that, Simon Hodges, about tough love, and he was just we had a conversation with him, and that's what I talk about. Love doesn't mean that you are light on yourself. No, you just staying there because you really love yourself, and sometimes you need to push yourself. You need to be a little bit more tougher with yourself or with other people, but it's coming from place of love, not of fear.
Yeah.
So that's my message there. And there is also a conversation which I had with myself, and more specifically with my inner child, how actually you can do that for yourself. And actually, like Sarah said, it's pretty simple, but it's not easy
Yeah.
because we didn't learn how to do that for ourselves. So in general, this is what I wanted to, give to people, just to, if they learn to do that with themselves, everything changes, and the world around you changes, and you,
Yeah.
you help also other people to become more loving to themselves.
Fantastic. And so if we circle it back to leadership, and
Yeah,
of course, to lead, you can talk about leading oneself. But if I externalize a little bit, and somebody who
yeah,
maybe you've helped through that process, they followed the idea of loving themselves, their inner child, and so on, and having that much more positive conversation that you talk about in your chapter, then what happens in their organization, to their colleagues, the people that they're leading? How does it affect that?
Yeah.
First of all, if you create this environment for yourself, you become this energy. When you go to the organization with this energy, when you see someone who is really love themselves, what kind of energy they have. When you see this person, you just want to be in their company first. Then your organization as a leader becomes you. You know, your organization is extension of you.
Mm.
And if you go there as this loving presence, you're gonna create this environment for other people. And you know that people, if you go to organizations, if you ask people, they consciously or subconsciously they follow their leader. They follow what they do, they follow how they do it, they follow even some even small detailed tasks, how they do the tasks, they do it the same, because that's the way we learn. So if you go in the organization with this guy, you're going to change the culture, you're going to change also the values in the organization. So if you're loving and understanding to yourself, you're going to put that as a value in your company, right? When someone comes to you, you're going to approach the person in this way. You're going to teach other people how to do that with each other. So your organization changes its core because you changed your core.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And love is a so powerful force. It's a powerful force, not forceful force, because there is a force which is coming from fear, and there is a power which is coming from love.
Yeah.
So, and imagine if you have these people, if you have this organization with this core, you're going to create this environment. People will start becoming like this. Imagine how this organization is going to serve their clients. And imagine if more organizations like this, what change can be made in the world.
Which circles beautifully back to
Yeah.
Sarah, to you, and why you wanted to write this book in the first place, and the change you'd like to see. So there seems like a perfect symmetry between Dimi's mission, if you like, and what he believes in, and exactly what you're trying to achieve. So it's a really great match.
It is. It makes my heart so happy. and also, I know that there are other authors who have spoken about tough love and and these kind of similar concepts that we're talking about. And yeah, it's like, what's the opposite of being loving? It's hate. And it's that real toxic, if somebody doesn't know how to love themselves truly, then they're not happy on the inside. And when you're not happy on the inside, how do you behave? And this is that toxic energy and this toxic masculine, that is so rife in the world today. And it really it does all start with self-love. And as Dimi said, it's simple, but it's not necessarily so easy. And we know that people don't leave companies, they leave bosses, they leave bad bosses. And so in answer to your question, Alan, about where's the business benefit in this, essentially it's all of that: employee engagement, employee retention. We know that it costs so much more to bring somebody new in than look after talent. And yeah, so that just in itself that's a massive business benefit. To be leading from this different energy, and from the toxic energy, it's there's a lot of disengagement, there's a lot of burnout, and there's a lot of human life that is impacted. And we know that we can transfer stuff from work into the home, and also from the home into the work environment. So it's really about becoming this whole integrated human that we're talking about. And so often we think we've got to put masks on. I'm going into the office, or I'm going into this situation, I better put that mask on. And what we're inviting people to do is to take off your mask and really be who you were created to be. And yeah, it's scary. And for somebody like Demi, who's younger, he's a younger millennial. And then we've got older people who, I'm 50, I grew up in the 70s, emotional intelligence, self-leadership, that they weren't concepts that we spoke about around the dining room table in country New South Wales, Australia, And so it's interesting because a lot of the bosses and the leaders at the moment are an older generation. And we know that I think it's by 2025 that 75% of the workforce are millennials. And millennials are so so purpose driven and all about innovation and all about, like, it's not just the paycheck, it's passion. And so this is the invitation to the old school leaders to change.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there's not an option anymore, guys.
Mm.
You know, if you want to have a successful company and have a great legacy that you leave behind through business, because we all know that business is a hugely powerful vehicle for change in the world, it's almost like you got to get on the bandwagon. So this book is an invitation to do that. And there are 15 very, very different stories in this book, because they're 15 very different individuals and they're the same. And that's the beautiful thing, that I feel like when we take off our masks, we are all the same at our core, aren't we?
Well,
Yeah,
I'd like to, I don't know that we've got time today, but Sarah, I would like to book an argument with you, please.
Okay.
And yeah, because you did rather trigger me when you linked male to toxic. Some of the most toxic environments that I've come across in business have been female led, just as some of the most purpose-driven and warm have occasionally been male-led. And I really think, I know it may be just in passing and easily said and slip of the tongue, but I think that's at the core of what we're trying to do, because I'm switching hats a bit here, partly as an author, that we want to inspire the change we want to see, to have more positive, less toxic, more love-driven environments, and that the male and female side is really more blurred. So I hope you'll forgive me for picking you up on that point.
Absolutely. And yeah, thank you. Absolutely, Alan, because it is a slip of the tongue, because it's the toxic masculine energy that we feel that we've had to adopt as females, because I've totally been there myself, and I had burnout as a result of being like that. So thank you, Alan, because it's true.
Okay.
What you say.
We can cancel the argument then, because we're in agreement.
I don't know, it could have been a good show.
We don't need to book it. So Dimi, is there anything you'd like to end with? Any last message? We're coming to the end of our time.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you again, guys, for having this environment with you, because this creates so much wisdom when we combine three of us, three people who have this similar loving and great energy. So what I want to share first is, when it comes to self-love, I just going to give a very short example, and then I'm going to finish with a statement. So when I was in my hardest times, and I had this pain inside, it was really, really pain and grief which I had. I remember when I was just walking and I couldn't get the pain, couldn't go out, couldn't go away. It just stayed there for a very long time. And what I did was, I just was walking by myself, because I was trying with any other way. I worked with psychologists, with coach, with my parents, with whoever you want. And there was this quiet moment when I was just walking, and I just stayed, and I just did like this. I just put my hand in my heart, and I just said, "What do you need? Tell me. I'm gonna be with you, no matter what." And I stayed there for a minute. I just gave myself this space to receive love. And I honestly tell you that what happened was, I just slowly felt how this pain just faded away. Just faded away. Because the only person who could help me was me. The only thing I needed was my love. And I gave it to myself in the right moment. No one else could help me. So my message is, leaders, it doesn't matter if you're a leader in your life, leader in your family, your organization, your bowling club, no matter where. You know that if you learn how to love yourself, if you learn to give this space to yourself and create this internal shift, you are going to be this amazing loving energy for everyone in your life. You're going to see changes everywhere. You're going to create so much shift in the world by being like this, because your being matters. Your being is the most important. Learn how to do that for yourself. You're going to do that for other people, because the only thing you're going to have is love, and that can change everything.
That's lovely, Dimi. Thank you so much. And Sarah, is there anything you'd like to finish on before we end?
Just to say thank you so much, both of you, for a really enriching conversation, and that I loved every minute of it.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to lead today. And it's been a fascinating conversation. Look forward to many more.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ellen.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Ciao.
Thank you.